Hello, fellow students of Jewish history. Later this month, I'm delighted to be addressing a group of students in Budapest associated with the Ashkenazium, a remarkable new institution that is founded by my colleague and friend, Dean Michael Kegel. And thanks to the generosity of Dr. Kegel and the Ashkenazium, we've decided to put the public part of these classes online so that people can participate globally. These 12 lectures will be open to the global community. Please RSVP, totally free. And I look forward to interacting with you as we explore the millennium of Jewish history in the lands of Ashkenaz and beyond. So let us start today with just a little Vorspeise, a little bit of an appetizer, to ask a basic question. What is Ashkenaz? What do we mean when we use this strange word, Ashkenaz? So it turns out that this particular word occurs in the Bible. It occurs in Genesis 10, also in Chronicles, and one other passage we're going to look at in Jeremiah. Here's a screenshot from the web page Sefaria, which is a tremendous resource for all kinds of Torah texts. And here in Genesis 10:3, we have the first reference to Ashkenaz. Basically, here we have a lineage of Noah, that is Noah of the flood. He has a son named Japheth. In the Ashkenazic pronunciation, that would be Yafes. Yafes has a son named Gomer, and then Gomer has a son named Ashkenaz. This is the first citation of the name Ashkenaz, right? So he's basically the great-grandson of Noah through the Greek line. That's the way that we have it described in Genesis. So how does this connect to Ashkenazi Jews? Well, basically, Ashkenaz is the name of a people, right? A lineage of people from this one forefather, Ashkenaz. Later, it will be associated with a particular place. We're going to look at that in just a second. And later, that place will be associated in the Jewish mind with the Jews who live there. In other words, there's no intrinsic kind of ethnic connection between Ashkenaz and the lineage that followed from that biblical figure and the Jews today, other than the coincidence of the geographic location that is ascribed to Ashkenaz. In other words, although Ashkenaz is their great something uncle, the Jews who are descended from Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, 10 generations after Noah, have no other connection with Ashkenaz. To express this another way, I am a Canadian Jew. You can tell because of the way I say about, and that I apologize for a lot of things, stuff like that. But basically, there's nothing intrinsically Canadian about my Jewishness or Jewish about my Canadianness, other than the fact that my grandparents all emigrated to Canada over a century ago, and that's what makes me a Canadian Jew. Similarly, we have Ashkenazi Jews who at some point ended up in a land that was associated with Ashkenaz. Now, who are these Ashkenazi Jews? According to one of the great scholars of the 20th century, we're talking about basically something like 5,000 to 10,000 people who lived in this region of Ashkenaz around the year 900, who by the time you got to the 20th century, there are about 12 million of them on the cusp of the disastrous World War II. And that represented about 80% of world Jewry at the time. In other words, if you ran into a Jew in the first half of the 20th century, before the Holocaust, was more than likely you ran into an Ashkenazi Jew. There are many other Jews scattered throughout the world, Sephardic Jews, Edut HaMizrach Jews, even Asian Jews, but the demographic weight was clearly behind the Ashkenazim. So let's go to the next question. We've got this idea of the word Ashkenaz is somehow associated with this biblical figure. Where is Ashkenaz? So one of the hints we can use to figure this out is a passage in the book of Jeremiah. Here's another screenshot from the Sefaria website. And you can see here that Jeremiah is in one of his classic Jeremiads, right? One of his, sort of dirge-like imprecations. In this case, he's cursing Babylonia, who would, of course, take the Jews into exile in the 6th century before the Common Era, and he talks about the vengeance that would one day be meted out against the Babylonian captors of the Jews. In verse 27, you see here, he says, I'll read in English, raise a standard on earth, sound a horn among the nations, appoint nations against her, that is against Babylonia, assemble kingdoms against her, Ararat, Mini, and Ashkenaz. Designate a marshal against her, bring up horses like swarming locusts. In other words, these three regions, Ararat, Mini, and Ashkenaz, will somehow converge to destroy Babylonia. So Jeremiah seems to be speaking about the location which had the descendants of Ashkenaz living, and that somehow they would represent a later threat to Babylonia. So if we have a look at where that might be, and in the 18th century in particular, there was a lot of enthusiasm to try and locate these biblical names and their later where they ended up in the Middle East. Here is an interesting map from roughly that period. And you can see right in the center is the land of Israel. And then looking to the northeast in this circled area, that's where Babylonia would be, right? Mesopotamia, the Neo-Babylonians to be technically correct. And the regions that would come down and attack her, according to the passage in Jeremiah, would be in Asia Minor here. You can see on the lower right of the circle, there's the mountain range that is associated with Ararat. We speak about Mount Ararat, but in the ancient biblical mind, Ararat was really a mountainous region, not a particular mountain. And here the author of this map has labeled Ashkenaz in the region of the Phrygians. So we have some interesting associations to suggest that this might be the correct location for Ashkenaz, but they're not really that strong. Some of the earliest and most enthusiastic defenders of this Asia Minor connection would include the great Shadal, Rabbi Shmuel David Luzzatto, who wrote in the 19th century. But when you look at the research of another very important scholar, Shmuel Kraus, he suggests that they actually came a little bit to the north, somewhere above the Caspian Sea, somewhere between the Volga and the Elbe rivers. Now, this is especially interesting, and Dr. Kraus really followed up on this quite a bit, on the suggestion that perhaps the Ashkenazim should be associated with the remarkable Khazar people. That is a thesis which, for other reasons, totally blew up in the 20th century, and we'll discuss that, God willing, in the first full lecture. But for now, let's just talk a little bit about where is the actual land of Ashkenaz, because none of these associations are specifically connected with the Jews. They are connected rather with the Ashkenazim, the original biblical Ashkenazim, descendants of Ashkenaz, and they exist basically in a realm of supposition and theory. So when we say Ashkenaz and we're referring to Jews, what we're really talking about is Germany, and in particular the Rhineland. In fact, when we look at the first times that Jews start referring to themselves as being Ashkenazi, which is around the 12th century, they're basically talking about the Rhineland. And in the centuries prior to that, because there are Jews in this region considerably earlier, they speak about themselves as being Rhineland Jews. And later that somehow morphs into Ashkenaz Jews, perhaps borrowing from this idea that the children of Ashkenaz moved somewhere north, and this is somewhere north, but there's no other real connection between the name Ashkenaz in the Bible and this region which Jews later came to call Ashkenaz. What happened to those Ashkenazi Jews? They basically spread out to the eastern regions, especially from about the 13th and 14th century onwards, and you get a much larger population of these Rhineland Jews living in Ashkenaz. And then in the late 19th century, there is a large flow of Jews to western locations and a smaller number to the land of Israel. So that's why, for example, in America, about 3/4 of the Jews who moved to America at the beginning of the 20th century are Ashkenazic, and their descendants today, of course, are the dominant sub-ethnic group among Jews. So we're going to explore this in the course in much greater detail. We're going to pick up with that whole Khazar question, which is really quite fascinating. I hope that you will be able to join us because it's really exciting to think of having a global population of students in a live lecture like this. But let us recall that when we're speaking about Ashkenaz, we're really talking about two different things. Most people use this term Ashkenaz to refer to those Jews who have some, albeit distant, roots in the Rhineland region of Germany, whereas the biblical term Ashkenaz really refers to this great-grandson of Noah and has no specifically Jewish connection. Okay, I hope you found this Vorspeise appealing, and I hope you will join us in the Ashkenazium lectures. Please reserve your spot today. Thanks very much for watching.